Hello, and welcome to A Hymn with Tim. I'm your host, Tim. Hi there. Welcome to A Hymn with Tim. I'm your host, Tim. This week we will be looking at the hymn In the Garden, written by C. Austin Miles around the year 1913. This is many people's favorite hymn, and I can see why. It paints a wonderful picture of walking and talking with Jesus right after the resurrection. Who wouldn't like that? This is, I believe, also my mother's favorite hymn, and today is her birthday. Now, if this is not my mother's favorite hymn, then my sister is to blame for telling me that information. The hymn was written by C. Austin Miles around the year 1913. Mr. Miles was born in 1868 and was a pharmacist who began writing gospel songs and eventually hymns. He also later became an editor to many hymnals, writing a numerous amount of hymns in his lifetime and blessing us with many of the hymns that we know and love today. Of course, one of the most beloved hymns that he wrote is the hymn In the Garden. So we're going to take a look at that today from different aspects of not only inside, but outside as well. Today I'm outside of the church in our beautiful landscaped areas right outside of our columbarium. Now I know this is not the same kind of garden that we may be used to, talking about vegetables and plants. But in a sense, this is a garden, much like in the same way the garden tells a story in our hymn for this week. I can only imagine the vision of this hymn writer as he puts himself in the place of Mary and those disciples which went to the tomb of Jesus. This vision that places us in the very moment of the resurrection. What a glorious and wonderful hymn this is that tells us the story of a God who loves us so much, he will walk with us and talk with us. I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. This past Sunday, I was blessed to be able to sing this hymn in our worship service along with my good friends David Price, Jeff Henson, and Tim Dukes. We call ourselves the Providence Quartet because there's 4 of us. Like the hymn we talked about a few weeks ago, Standing on the Promises, C. Austin Miles is not only author of the hymn's text, but he's also the author of the hymn's music. And you know what happens when we do that? We get an original hymn. And we get an original hymn. We get an original hymn. As a young boy, I have fond memories of my grandfather, Hightower, in the garden, dressed similar to this, overalls, a hat, and a dress shirt. He was a preacher and a teacher and a farmer. And we always enjoyed when we got a chance to go and visit, to be in the garden, even though it meant we knew we were in for a good bit of hard work. Now, on the other side of my family was Papa Thomas Hill. And there's a story of my sister and my papa in the garden. Now, I got to thinking about this story because our hymn this week is called In the Garden. Now, the way I've heard this story told is my older sister was in the garden and she saw my grandfather, Papa Thomas, eating a hot pepper. He was known to do this, just pick a pepper and eat it. So, of course, she wanted a hot pepper as well, and, well, he gave it to her. Since I've only heard how this story went, I was not there to experience it for myself. I've taken a moment today to try and reenact what it might be like to just eat a hot pepper. I've enlisted the help of my good friends Blake and Dane, so we're going to head into the conference room and we're going to see how this unfolds.
Just getting there. Ooh! Yep, there it is.
Oh boy.
That lights you up.
Oh boy. Oh, man.
All right, I'm fine.
Oh, man. I shouldn't be breathing right now. Oh.
Hey, Blake, how you doing down there? You all right?
In the midst of a troubling pandemic and political season, we need to be reminded that Jesus walks with us and talks with us. He has not forsaken us. The voice we hear falling on our ear is very often the voice of God. Are we willing to listen? Are we willing to allow God to lead us through the stories of Jesus Christ, through hymns like In the Garden? In the final verse, he says, I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of woe. The voice to me is calling. We are challenged as Christians and as the church to go out into a world sometimes full of woe, to bring joy, to bring happiness, to bring help, to bring healing, to bring love. Let us go. Let us do this in all that we are each and every day as we walk and as we talk with Jesus.
And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever.
As you heard me mention earlier in the show, today, or the day where this show originally airs, is my mom's birthday. So I want to say just a quick greeting and I love you to my mom. I hope this day is very special. I'm sorry I can't be with you, but, you know, I'm famous and I have my own television show. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, God bless you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mom. Well, thanks for joining me for another episode of A Hymn with Tim as we've looked into a great hymn this week, In the Garden. I want to say a quick thank you to my good friends Blake and Dane for always being good sports and helping me out with the show. But this week I want to say another thank you to a good friend of mine, Mr. Brian Hess. Brian is responsible for growing those wonderful hot peppers that Blake and Dane thoroughly enjoyed. Brian is not only a great gardener, but he's also an amazing photographer and friend. So thank you, Mr. Brian Hess. So friends, let me remind you, I'm Tim, and we've been talking about a hymn. We'll do it again next week. I hope you'll join us.